Good morning, everyone. My name is Angelica Bruhnke, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm sure many of you have heard of RS21, but the RS21 Health Lab may be an unfamiliar name to many of you. The Health Lab is a division wholly owned by RS21 and is the result of a recent acquisition of a company that I co-founded, Versatile Med Analytics. At RS21, we have a mission to do good with data, and we brought together a team of data scientists, data engineers, software developers, and user experience designers to aid us in that mission by providing custom data and design services to empower organizations to solve complex challenges.
Ange?
Yes?
This is Stephanie.
Can you move your slides?
Yeah, it's not advancing the slides because we're looking at the actual application app.
Are you seeing the Fast Company slide now? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of our proudest accomplishments are being recognized as a 2020 Best Workplace for Innovators and as one of Inc. 500's fastest growing companies. The philosophy of doing good with data means a few things to us. It means curating data for confident decision-making, producing products that are built for humans by humans, and creating trust in data that can drive impact. You may be familiar with some of our projects, which span space, resiliency, and infrastructure, and cybersecurity, and even a little bit of healthcare. But now we're doubling down in healthcare with the Health Lab, which is exclusively serving health and healthcare organizations such as health plans, health systems, government, and health tech. The Health Lab builds upon RS21's key strengths of data blending and engineering, such as API development, data warehousing, and cloud technologies, data viz, such as geospatial and interactive web data visualizations, data science, such as AI and machine learning and natural language processing, all to create smarter and faster tools for healthcare. Tools that can identify outliers sooner, find more opportunities to better manage care and costs, pinpoint the root cause of health disparities and simulate impact before an intervention is deployed, and inform targeted policy, program development, and more confident decision-making. Some examples of this analytics in action are cost containment for Medicaid and Medicare programs, rural hospital community health programs, COVID testing, and fraud, waste, and abuse via anomaly detection. I won't read through each of these, but on this slide, you'll see the Health Lab's core offerings provide a menu of options that clients can pick and choose from based on need and goals of the organization. Every client's needs are different as they're at varied stages of their data and analytics journey, but we're there to meet them wherever they're at with these services. You can see the types of clients we serve in healthcare. And though how these varied client types are using data may differ, the common theme is that each of these entities are collecting massive amounts of health and healthcare data, and they have an opportunity to do more with it for the benefit of patients and for the benefit of their organization. And here we have a snapshot of some of our healthcare experts that make the magic happen. With this robust team of scientists, engineers, and healthcare domain experts, we've got one example to show you where we bring together these varied skill sets to analyze social determinants of health. For those of you who aren't familiar with social determinants of health, commonly referred to as SDOH in our industry, SDOH includes any and all external factors that can influence health. Some common ones are access to transportation, Does an individual live alone and they're subject to social isolation? Do they have access to quality foods? Elements that never before in healthcare have we really been able to capture and bring together to create that truly holistic view of patient and population health. Our SDOH tool is being built to combine multiple data sets from open source data and take it to the next level by adding other available data like wearable digital devices or an organization's internal data that they're already capturing. We then layer in predictive analytics, small sample estimation, real-time travel pattern analysis to allow health and healthcare organizations to better understand health from the community level down to the individual patient level, and to see everything in between that impacts healthcare costs and outcomes. So they know which levers to pull to impact the change that they want to see. Studies have suggested that SDOH accounts for up to 90% of a person's health. And as you can see here, we go beyond typical socioeconomic data indicators and really work to access this wealth of data sets that is very hard to get, hard to standardize, hard to consolidate. And for everyone in healthcare that is trying to access this data and pull it together into a meaningful, concise story, they're doing it all in their own silos. Before I click on this next slide, the video does go a little bit fast, but this is just an example of how we put together an illustration of our capabilities in action for a fictitious town called Chickahoe, Illinois. This is an example of how granular we can get with data for the management of chronic conditions. So you see here, we select our state, our city, our condition, identify the hot spots impacted by this, get the view of cost, known effectors that impact patients with these conditions, and then drill it down all the way to the individual patient level. Next slide. So big insurers and government agencies are already paying attention to this SDOH data that we presented here. Companies like Humana, who wanted a similar high-resolution view into hotspots within their communities so they could more effectively manage member care. Here you can see more detail into the volume of data being captured, and it gives you an idea of the magnitude of communities impacted. Our inspiring and intuitive tools are architected by experienced UX, UI experts, but what you're seeing is just the visual delivery layer of a lot of data engineering and data science magic under the hood. We have developed and are continuing to develop some very powerful capabilities that drive the insights you see, such as augmented analytics that uses machine learning to alert you when things are going off the rails and identify trends that would otherwise be hidden within the noise of the sheer amount of data. Tools that identify patterns in how people travel, when and where using anonymized cell phone data, eventually down to a building or parcel level. And this will be in a tool called Mother Mobility, which we'll be releasing soon. And advanced NLP that goes beyond the capability to simply mine free text, but to put it into translating a mass of medical information and data insights into a concise and syntactically correct summary that's readable by the average human.
Angelica, you have less than a minute left.
Good. This does conclude my presentation. Before we open it up for questions, I want to mention that our VP of Analytics, Stephanie Garadia, will be participating in the new networking session. So if any of the attendees have questions or comments about the presentation, please join the session and Stephanie will be happy to talk data with you.
All right, Ben and Andrew, you have questions?
Yeah, this is Ben with Innovative Ventures. How do you approach your potential clients to get them to understand that you can solve their problems? What does that selling motion look like?
Join you here on video. So we had the benefit, as I mentioned, we had been acquired, we're recently acquired. And so we have had the benefit of working for our clients in some capacity over the last decade. And so, for example, Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of our largest clients, and they came to us with the problem of identifying some drivers of cost.
Okay.
And so then we approach them with the data solution to be able to get to those answers.
So established companies, more problems, they come to you, you have tools, you help them. Okay.
Right.
And can you talk about the revenue model for this? Are they coming to you and you're building this for them as a one-time project-based revenue coming in, or are you able to develop the tool and then sell it back to them as kind of a service and recurring revenue opportunity?
So now we're at both. When we did start, it was primarily service-based. And so it was custom analytic service solutions, some product development, but it was all at a customized level. But what we've done is we've standardized our frameworks over the last few years, and we're now at a point where we are moving towards a subscription model because we now have established platforms that are scalable. And whether you're on the insurer side or your delivery system or your physician group, same types of questions that you have and the same problem exists, you just don't have access to that level of data and you don't have an intuitive interpretation of it. So now we're putting that at healthcare leaders' fingertips via subscription model.
Got it. Thank you. And I'm sure it probably depends on the customer, but when you're working on these projects and developing this, who owns the data? What data do you retain, if any, and how does that work going forward?
That's a good question, as we're bound by HIPAA constraints. And so typically a client does not want, understandably, their data to leave their environment, which is perfectly fine. And they maintain ownership to that. We have access to the minimum necessary. So the client maintains ownership of their data. And then the solutions that we build, of course, are ours to scale. And that goes for any methodologies that we develop as well.
So is your strategy to sell more products to these existing institutions that you serve, or go after new institutions?
It's both. We want to, the product offerings, we now are ready to scale to some existing customers, and we're trying to edge, kind of get away from purely service-based. And then now we want to take this to market in other regions. So we have a strong base here in New Mexico, and we're expanding outside of the state.
Okay.
And how has COVID affected your sales cycle with getting, new customers and working on new projects? And has it accelerated it or has it prolonged it? And how do you expect that to change going forward?
It initially it decelerated it because we had, a number of opportunities in the pipeline, and then COVID hit. And then everyone was just kind of at a standstill. What do I do next? And understandably not wanting to invest in some data solutions when they have, fires to put out. But it rapidly turned around to be our highest grossing revenue year. 2020 was driven by COVID for us. It was a demand to be able to answer questions on how to target these populations that were most at risk, how to evaluate their incomes or their outcomes, how to look at the impact of telehealth utilization, all of these questions that couldn't be answered without good data.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have one last question?
I guess my final
All right,
question.
well,
I know you guys were recently acquired. Are you guys raising money right now, or you're just focused on growth now that you've been acquired?
Right. We're just focused on growth. So our team will be expanding by at least 20 in this division by the end of the year.
Yay. Thank you.
That's great.
Hey, that's exciting.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you, Angelica.